The Grand Council chamber stood empty, its crystalline walls reflecting the worried faces of the remaining delegates. Emily Harrison's seat, the one reserved for Earth's ambassador, had been vacant for 3 days now. Erling Voss, the Council's chief mediator, stared at it with growing unease. "They're really gone," whispered Ambassador Zixathar, his tentacles trembling. "The humans. They just left." Erling nodded slowly, his jaw tight. For 20 years, he had worked alongside Emily, navigating the complex politics of the Galactic Council. She had been his friend, his colleague, and perhaps the most brilliant diplomat he had ever known. And now, without warning, she and every other human representative had vanished. It had started quietly. 3 weeks ago, Emily had grown distant during council sessions. Her usual warmth had been replaced by a cold professionalism that Erling found deeply unsettling. When he asked her what was wrong, she had simply smiled a sad, knowing smile and said, "Sometimes. Erling, you realize you're not where you belong." The vote had come swiftly after that. The council, led by the Vraxian Consortium and the Kelthrian Empire, had passed Resolution 7749, a measure that effectively stripped Earth of its voting rights and imposed crippling economic sanctions. The reason? Humanity's aggressive expansion and unpredictable nature. Erling had voted against it. So had a handful of others. But they were the minority. Emily had stood that day, her expression unreadable. She hadn't argued, hadn't pleaded. She had simply gathered her documents, looked at Erling one last time, and walked out. Within 72 hours, every human diplomat, trader, scientist, and citizen had withdrawn from council space. No protests, no demands, just silence. Now, 2 months later, the aftermath was becoming clear. "The trade routes are collapsing," reported Ambassador Tkaren, her reptilian features drawn with worry. "The humans managed 40% of our logistics networks. Without them, shipping costs have tripled." Erling pulled up a holographic display. The data was damning. Human engineers had maintained the quantum relays. Human programmers had developed the translation matrices that allowed thousands of species to communicate. Human medics had staffed 70% of the Council's medical facilities. They had been the glue holding everything together, and no one had noticed until they were gone. "What about military support?" someone asked. Silence fell. The humans had also provided 30% of the Council's rapid response fleet. When the Krill Raiders had attacked the outer colonies last week, the response time had been catastrophic. 12 worlds had burned before reinforcements arrived. Erling remembered Emily's words from years ago. "We don't ask for credit, Erling. We just do what needs to be done." He had thought it was humility. Now he realized it had been a warning. "We need to bring them back," declared Ambassador Vorn, pounding the table with his massive fist. "Send an envoy, apologize, whatever it takes. We tried," Erling said quietly. "I personally traveled to the Sol system last week. Every eye turned to him. The humans were polite. They provided my ship with supplies and safe passage. But when I asked to speak with their leadership, I was told they were no longer interested in council affairs." He paused, remembering Emily's face on the view screen, older now, but still sharp. "Emily was there. She wouldn't even meet with me in person. That's outrageous." Vorn shouted. After everything we've done?" Erling interrupted, his voice sharp. "We voted to marginalize them. We called them dangerous. We treated their contributions as obligations rather than gifts." He stood, his tall frame rigid with anger. "We took them for granted, and now we're paying the price." The chamber fell silent. Zixathar's tentacles drooped. "What do we do?" Erling looked at Emily's empty seat. He thought about the countless late nights they had spent crafting compromises, building bridges between species that hated each other. She had never sought glory. She had just worked, tirelessly, to make the council function. "We face the aftermath," he said finally. "We learned to do without them. And maybe, in a few generations, we'll have earned the right to ask for their help again." "Generations?" someone protested. "We'll collapse in months." "Then we collapse," Erling said coldly. "We made our choice. They made theirs." As the council dissolved into panicked arguments, Erling returned to his quarters. A message waited on his private terminal marked untraceable. He opened it Emily's face appeared, recorded weeks ago. "Erling," she said softly, "by the time you see this, we'll be gone. I want you to know this wasn't about revenge. It was about dignity. The humans gave everything to the Council. Our sweat, our blood, our innovations. And in return, we were told we weren't good enough." She smiled, and Erling's chest tightened. "You were the only one who truly saw us, Erling. Thank you for that. Maybe someday, when the Council learns humility, we'll meet again. But until then, goodbye, old friend." The message ended. Erling sat in the darkness, staring at the screen. Outside his window, the Council's grand station flickered power grids struggling without human maintenance. Ships waited in docking bays for repairs that might never come. Entire departments had ground to a halt. The humans had departed in silence, and the galaxy was learning a harsh truth. Those who are taken for granted will eventually walk away, and when they do, the silence they leave behind speaks louder than any words. Erling closed his eyes. "We should have listened," he whispered to the empty room, but there was no one left to hear.